Stop thinking that nonprofits are some benevolent, holy group that isn't about making money. It's wrong. Start thinking nonprofits and for-profits are just businesses that are structured differently. I'm going to explain the difference between for-profit and nonprofit, the myths of nonprofit. So let's begin with just talking about nonprofits being good. So I know this is a little dated right here, but this comes from the Motley Fool. It says, surprisingly, these three well-known companies are nonprofits. The National Football League, the NFL, along with the NHL and the Professional Golfers Association, is a tax-exempt 501c6 organization. Now, keep in mind, I know this is a bit dated, and I think they did lose their nonprofit status, but still, IKEA, the chain of giant self-help furniture stores from Sweden, is a nonprofit. The Green Bay Packers, the football team. It says, not all big businesses claiming nonprofit status are doing it for questionable reasons, while the rest of the NFL franchises, every other major U.S. pro sports team, operate on a for-profit basis. The Green Bay Packers are a nonprofit company owned by roughly 350,000 shareholders who receive voting rights but no rights to profit from distribution, according to the New York Times. So there are a lot of different kind of businesses that are nonprofits that you would be like, how is that not a for-profit? Meanwhile, you have Nike that is giving back to our communities. They are committed to building a future where everyone, regardless of where they are from, the color of their skin and their abilities, or who they love, can thrive. And this talks about their commitment to the Black community, Homeboy Industries, and Converse, inclusive community, and the things that, Nike is giving money to and trying to help certain societal issues. So it's not just nonprofits do great things and for-profits don't, right? They all kind of blend in quite a bit. Even if you go to YouTubers like PewDiePie, he is the person on YouTube that actually battled T-Series, top charity works and deeds. So Charity Water, he has raised over $500,000 for this charity. He's also done Save the Children. He raised $630,000 for Save the Children. Red, $1.3 million went to Red. Ellen's Best Friend gaming charity competition, and much more. So point being is that PewDiePie, he's not a nonprofit. He's a guy on YouTube, probably has a for-profit system going on, if anything. So just because you're for-profit or nonprofit, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're quote-unquote good or you're benefiting society any more or less than the other structures are. Now, taking this to intactivism, let's talk about the tactics of the nonprofits. And you tell me, what's the difference between a for-profit and a nonprofit? So maybe it's donations, because in Your Whole Baby, you can donate to them. If you go to Intact America, you can donate to them right now. It is on their front pages. But however, you can donate to for-profit businesses. It says, yes, a for-profit business can accept donations. You can even give donations to POTS, and that happens all the time. Okay, so that's not the case. Maybe it's what they can do and sell and stuff. Well, if you go and look at this is Intact America's store. They're selling t-shirts, merchandise, stuff that's pretty expensive, like stickers for $7.50. That's up there for sure. You can go and check out Gowdaf, also selling merchandise. Your Whole Baby, they have a store that's temporarily on pause right now, but the nonprofits that I just listed, they're selling stuff, just like Nike would be selling stuff. So, okay, it's not necessarily the stores. Well, maybe it's the advertising and marketing. Maybe nonprofits can't do that. Well, we know that the Bloodstained Men, they market quite a bit with their billboards. Also, what nonprofits can do is use donor money. It says, this is from Gowdaf, it says these costs are estimated to be $9,500. So they're trying to raise money from you guys, right, the donors. Major fundraiser announced, help make How to Sue and Win possible. So they're going to try and get $12,000 raised by June 30th. And then their plan is to go and do this. Initial plans are for the attorney training module to be placed behind a paywall accessible by private law firms and law schools for a modest fee, with funds raised through this method helping to cover the cost of further promotion of the module in selected law journals. So they are taking money from donors, making a product from that money, selling that product, and then they are going to use that money to advertise that product to go ahead and sell more products. How does that not sound like a for-profit to you? Also, continuing, this is also GAUDAF. It says, as always, 80% of our donations will be segregated to our litigation account to provide grants to plaintiffs who request help with our case. Okay, don't care about that. But it says the remainder will be used to build our cooperating attorney network as well as to expand our advertising in state bar association, magazines, and other targeted print media. So yes, 20% of GAUDAF's donations go into advertising and marketing, just like any other for-profit. And maybe you're like, okay, well, they can't do like special marketing gimmicks or anything like that, like a for-profit could. Well, actually, if you go to this powerful collaboration for impact litigation forums to protect all children from genital mutilation from GAUDAF, this check right here, you see this check? This is a fake check. You can't cash it. I am 95% sure this is not a cashable check, right? This is a marketing gimmick. It's a large check. He probably just gave him a paper check for it underneath it, and they even told him to wait till he became a nonprofit. If you read GAUDAF presents at inaugural Intact Global Conference, if you read this blog and you scroll down, it will even say, it says, Hammond was also pleased to present Intact Global founder Eric Klopper with a symbolic check representing GAUDAF's pledge of $10,000 to Intact Global's Equal Protection Challenge in Oregon. So, most likely, he didn't even give $10,000 check that was cashable to Eric Klopper. It was just this giant check here, which you can go ahead and, you can read about this here, about the, is it possible to cash oversized novelty prize checks? Definitely go ahead and read that. Pause the video. You guys should be able to read that. But you can, GAUDAF paid $40 to go ahead, put on their logo and everything else and design it. They probably paid about $40 for their big check. And just to market them giving a lot of money to Eric Klopper and to pull this publicity stunt off. So once again, this seems like a for-profit-y kind of thing to do. So any kind of fancy marketing, point being, is able to be done just like a for-profit would be able to. If it's not advertising and marketing, maybe it's just the owners of nonprofits. They're just not trying to make lots of money. They're not trying to go ahead and make financial gains from their nonprofit. Well, that's definitely not the case, especially when you go ahead and you look into it. So when you go to the top 10 highest paid CEOs at nonprofits for 2024, we're going to do the top one here real quick. The PGA Tour Inc. Joseph, the commissioner, gets paid $15 million a year plus $3.6 million in compensation. So that's not the case. There's not a real cap, quote unquote, for nonprofits getting paid, for nonprofit CEOs and other staff getting paid. So that doesn't really work. So where is the actual difference? It's in the taxes. This is the real big difference. Now, I get it, taxes are needed for a functional society. However, nonprofits are supposed to be benefiting society, so they are tax-free, except nonprofit employees. They must pay federal, state, and local income tax on their salaries, just like employees in for-profit organizations. So when you have nonprofits giving out money in form of pay, compensation, and salary, that's taxable. However, everything else is non-taxable within the actual nonprofit. That is definitely a huge benefit of being a nonprofit versus a for-profit. They go ahead and they get taxed on all the money that they make if they keep it in the business. Now, there is also another benefit of being a nonprofit, and that is for the donors that do end up donating to your organization as a nonprofit, they can write off how much they donated in their taxes. But according to this, 90% of taxpayers took the standard deduction in 2022. So that means that you're not going to itemize your deductions to take the charity nonprofit tax write-off anyways. Only 10% of people do that. So almost everybody, when you donate to a charity, it doesn't matter if it's a 501c3 nonprofit or not. So most likely you, as the donor, aren't going to get any tax benefits. So what does this mean for a for-profit? So when you're a for-profit, like Prevail over the system is, when you get money, you need to spend that money that year or get hit with taxes. Nonprofits have a tendency to hold on to their donations. For instance, you can go ahead and look at Intact America. This is the Form 990, 2022, Intact America Inc. If you look right here, this is from Intact America. Look at 10, investment income. Intact America makes about $90,000. Like, that's how much they made in 2022 in investment income. And none of that's going to get taxed. They probably put in the stock market, and they did good that year. Last year, they didn't do so great. They got about $11,600, so about $12,000 they got. But point being is that you're going to see this a lot more in like nonprofits than you're going to see in for-profits, at least in my experience, because why would you invest as a for-profit like in the stock market and not be investing in your company and take out your money as a for-profit and invest it there? But anyways, getting into the weeds. So point being though, for Prevail over the system, like I said, when we get money, we need to spend that money because our tax bill for profits is actually larger than employees. So like if you work at Walmart, you pay less taxes than Prevail over the system is going to pay. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that POTS, we have to pay state tax, okay, which for me is about 4%, local tax, which is about 1%, federal, which is 22%, and then Medicare and Social Security, which is 15.3%. That is double from what you guys pay if you're an employee somewhere. So the total that I have to pay per every dollar is 42.3%. So I don't want to go ahead and get $100 and pay $42.30 out of that $100. Yeah, so for a for-profit to not have to pay all those taxes is by not making that much money, and the way to do that is by deducting expenses. The IRS has a whole bunch of rules about that, and here's 4 categories right there, but also you can claim credits as well on your taxes. I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but essentially when you give money to Prevail over the system, we are going to use it mostly in the deduct expenses category. So that's why when POTS gets money, we spend it, especially for that year. So tactfully, when you're thinking about, hey, should I give money to POTS or should I give it to Gowdaff, your whole baby, Bloodstained Men, whatever, think about, well, nonprofits, they can hold your donations a lot longer because they're not pressured with taxes. Because when you make money as a for-profit, you got to use it for your business for a tax write-off, or you got to pay taxes on it. As a nonprofit, you can go invest it, you can make money with it, you can sell merchandise, you can try different ways to make money with that money that they give you and not have to worry about getting a tax bill from the government. So, once again, I think this is why Prevail over the system and all for-profits actually are encouraged to take out loans and debt because the interest is a tax write-off, and this causes us to aggressively grow as well. So that's why POTS, we hit our 2-year mark very recently, and we are the top 10 Intactivist group. Like we've beaten Intactivist groups on YouTube that have been out here for like 15 years. So I just want to point something out with this chart really quickly. So look at Brendan Murata. He is a sole prop or kind of in that for-profit category, and he is nipping at the heels of the multi-million-dollar giant Intact America. He is literally so close to having the exact same YouTube subscribers as Intact America, but Intact America has a much bigger budget than Brendan Murata does. And also, if you look at Foragin wants to be a for-profit. Foragin has been talking about going for-profit for a while now. Now, why is that? Why does Foragin want to lose their non-profit status and go for-profit? For-profits are much more aggressively growing. Now, the other guys up here, you know, they're kind of like, they've been here for like 15 plus years. So congratulations. TLC Tugger, that is, I believe, a for-profit as well. He's not a non-profit. He has his own business selling TLC Tuggers, obviously. But there's lots of good for-profits on here. So lots, about what, 4 it looks like, are for-profits in this mix of intactivism. So I don't know why for-profits get a bad name for intactivists. So all the money we get goes towards pots, which helps intactivism, while nonprofits have the luxury of holding on to donor money without paying taxes, which is why there are so many people complaining about nonprofits. Let me show you a couple. So right here it says the ultimate billionaire tax dodge. Entrepreneurs tend to hate paying taxes and they love supporting pet causes. Now it's becoming clearer how they can pass entire billion-dollar companies through a charitable loophole. So it says at least $2 billion companies have been donated to obscure 501c4 nonprofits. Also, they avoid paying gift taxes. They avoid paying any capital gains or income taxes on billions of dollars. There's other kinds of things in here that talk about Warren Buffett donating $33 billion in Berkshire Hathaway shares to the Gates Foundations. Like, nonprofits aren't necessarily great, especially when you have people using it to just dodge taxes. And there's a whole article about arguments against charity, what's wrong with charity. It talks about thinking too small, failing to change society, technicalities of giving, what charities do with their funds. Like, I could have just read off of this, honestly. So just because you're a nonprofit doesn't mean you're necessarily fantastic, right? It doesn't make you any better than a for-profit. It really doesn't. Anyways, I'm going to go before I make this any longer. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comment section down below. Not tax advice or investment advice or whatever. I'm just getting annoyed at people being like, oh, Potts is a for-profit. He's not good. He's not like the non-profits and activist groups.
This person, they're called Potts on YouTube, has since day one come out as trying to make money off intactivism. He's trying to make personal gain off intactivism. He's trying to make a profit off intactivism. Okay? I had a very successful business.
Okay, great. All right, guys. Anyways, have a fantastical day, and thank you for watching. Bye.